Fog in places, lowest temperatures of 9 to 11 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Hello there, you are very welcome along to this evening's show. Lots going on across the 3 hours between now and 10 o'clock. Matt Williams and Rory O'Connor on Wednesday Night Rugby. On the football show, very much as he predicted a number of months ago, Brazil is not faring well against COVID-19. We will talk to the one and only Tim Vickery over in Rio. Louise Quinn with us as well, as the Women's Super League season is cancelled. And how quickly should we all emerge from this situation, the COVID situation, from a sporting perspective? John O'Mahony of Fine Gael and, of course, All-Ireland winning manager has called for the GAA to open pitches. Professor Anthony Staines will also join us, as well as John O'Mahony and Professor Kingston Mills as well. So we'll have a general chat at this hour about sport and how quickly we should loosen the grip and lower the handbrake, given, I think, the newfound confidence everybody has over the last few days or so. In the meantime, Adrian Barry is with us, as is Will O'Callaghan. Good evening, gents.
Evening, lads.
Well,
Will, you have gone from Mexico 86 on Monday and Argentina 1978 on Tuesday to, I would say, World Cup 06 Germany territory there. That's very impressive.
I was going to say Euro 2021, but I'll take World Cup 2006. It's good to be back in moderate quality tonight.
Excellent quality. Good to have you with us. We'll talk to Tim Vickery, I mentioned on the football show. I hadn't quite realised just what a mess President Bolsonaro was making of things. I mean, all fully expected, but he really, from the off, has ignored social distancing. He's gone through 2 health ministers thus far. Brazil, at the moment, is just over 24,000 deaths and very much counting. They're averaging about 1,000 a day. And the University of Washington has estimated that Brazil's death toll could rise 5-fold. They could be at 125,000 by early August. So we'll talk to Tim Vickery, and football, it seems, is something they're very keen to bring back as well. It turns out having a fairly mad president, Adrian Barry, in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic is not a good thing.
I was just thinking, what is the commonality with their friends a little bit further north? Like, what, I was talking to somebody today about it, and particularly in relation to the US context, somebody who lived in the US for a lot of years and still has a lot of friends there, and how desperate the feeling is in the US about the leadership particularly. Like, it must be such a helpless place to be in. There's been criticism of the leadership that we've had in Ireland, and I wouldn't be a particularly political person, so I feel free to say that I've been quite comfortable with how it's been handled here. Obviously, we're still in the depths of this thing, right? Like, we don't know where it's going, but it certainly seems as if we can level it out from here, that the leadership has been good, the leadership has been strong. There hasn't been a lot of golf played, Joe, I think, is the short story. Feels like everybody's eyes has been on the job at hand, and like, you take reassurance from that at a time where, like, you can feel actually quite helpless about it. I couldn't begin to imagine what it would be like to live in a country like that, where you turn on the TV and you see this, I don't know what the correct phraseology for either of them is, but crazed, like, selfish, whatever way you want to look at it. Out golfing at a time like this, like, Jesus Christ, like, you get any understanding even of the optics or something like that it gives to people, you might refrain for a couple of weeks.
Well, even the Donald has shut down travel from Brazil. Even the Donald is looking at Brazil thinking to himself, they're making a right mess of this. So we'll talk to Tim Vickery between 9 and 10. By the way, Aviva, Ireland's largest insurer, as you know, is marking the 10-year anniversary of the official opening of the Aviva Stadium and its proud 10-year-long sponsorship of the venue. To celebrate the milestone, they are paying tribute to some of the most memorable sporting events of the past decade. You can follow Aviva Ireland on Instagram and Twitter with your favourite Aviva Stadium memories using the hashtag #SafeDream. We are at the semi-final stage today of the greatest rugby moments of the last decade at the Aviva Stadium. We gave you a choice today between Robbie Henshaw's try against England in 2015 and Ryan Crotty's try for New Zealand in the depths to win the game in 2013, the end of that 4 or 5 minute surge up the field. The results are in. The results are in. And they have gone overwhelmingly to Robbie Henshaw in his try against England in 2015. Now, I put it to you, Adrian Barry, 65% to 35. Patriotism being the last refuge of a scoundrel and all that. If I was to list off perhaps the most impressive bit of sporting brilliance under pressure that I've seen, not just this decade, but whenever. Ryan Crotty's try, New Zealand winning that game against Ireland, that is incredibly hard to beat. I remember that far better than I do Robbie Henshaw's try against England in 2015. To be honest, I don't really remember that try all that well. But I remember Ryan Crotty's try and just almost thinking, well, this is just phenomenal what the All Blacks have done here.
The Henshaw try was class. It had a bit of everything. It had a lot of pressure. It was, it had everything. It was like the forwards barreling it up, Mike Ross playing scrum half, the little cheeky chip at the end, that was coming with an advantage. It did have a bit of everything. It was a super try. But the Crotty one, do you know what, Joe? I watched that game back. It was on one of the channels about 2 weeks ago, and I watched it back. And I've been watching a lot of those sort of archived games, as everybody has over the last few weeks, and it's hard to get into them, isn't it? Like, you're watching it and you're like, make a cup of tea, I go off, come back, you know the outcome. I found myself with the last 10 minutes to go going, half I missed from, surely we can't lose this. How are we going to lose this? How does this happen? And even when, like, we win a penalty maybe with like a minute of regular time to go, you're looking at the players going, this is, this is in the can. Like, how have New Zealand pulled this out? But yeah, look, like you say, geez, it all seemed to unfold. Actually, the thing about watching it back with the try at the end was it all seemed to unfold with such ease for New Zealand. Like, they actually just cut through us like butter at the end. Yeah. And then all the drama, of course, the penalty and Nigel Owens resetting it. And it didn't really, I do remember at that time thinking, it doesn't really matter. I don't care. The draws, I don't care either way. If we're draw with them or we're beaten by them, it's all the one. But listen, they've got balls of steel, Joe. That's the biggest cliche truism about New Zealand rugby.
They do. I think I would have voted Crotty. I think I'm in the 35%.
Would you?
Yeah.
For what reason now?
It's just the most outstanding example of composure under pressure. A team. I don't think the odds on a team being able to go the length of the field and score a try, seconds remaining, away from home, and do it in the style that they did it in. I just think it's absolutely exceptional. It's a far more impressive thing than the Robbie Henshaw try in 2015 against England. If we're talking about like the most impressive things that have happened at that stadium over the last decade, that New Zealand try arguably is number one.
It was only a friendly, but it's important from the point of view that New Zealand...
It's a test match, Will. It was a test match.
Well, they'd argue they finished that calendar year without being beaten, and that was the importance of it, that it could have been thrown away in their final November international if it had happened. Obviously, it's difficult to go unbeaten throughout the Rugby Championship, and then they played England at Twickenham during that series as well, so they had to dig it out of the fire. I mean, obviously, it's very enjoyable if you're an Irish fan to watch the first 17 minutes of the game, but you have to respect what New Zealand did towards the end. They continued to go phase after phase. Johnny Sexton makes that kick. Ryan Crotty never gets the opportunity to actually get the score at the end, but New Zealand found a way to win. And I think that's probably why Irish fans found it so satisfying to beat New Zealand, both in Chicago and then in November of 2018 at the Aviva Stadium as well, which I'm sure is going to come up as one of those great moments, despite not being a great game. And that's probably the respect that we have for the All Blacks, because they never know when they're beaten.
Let's kick on with the news round then. So, good news from an FAI point of view.
Yeah, positive soundings, lads. The FAI have confirmed that all the COVID-19 tests which were taken from the players and staff at Bohemians, Shamrock Rovers, Derry City and Dundalk yesterday have now come back negative. A further round of testing will take place for the four clubs next Monday, ahead of their planned return to training on June the 8th. The FAI's Deputy CEO, Niall Quinn, has said the results are welcome news and an early boost for the players and clubs across the League of Ireland. Of course, the teams outside those European qualifiers won't be back to training until the end of June, but surely these tests are probably very good news for them.
Yeah, very positive. And we have the latest round of the Premier League testing in.
We do now. 4 people from 3 clubs have tested positive in the Premier League's latest round of screening. Just over 1,000 players and staff were tested for COVID-19 on Sunday, and some of those tests took place yesterday as well. The next set of results are due to be taken, but the test will be taken over the next couple of days when contact training resumes, and the results are due to take place on Saturday. They'll be the first since contact training resumes, which was unanimously approved earlier today. That will mean, Joe, the players will be able to tackle in training in groups of up to 12, but they have been asked to minimise any unnecessary close contact for the first couple of weeks back. OK, that seems like the Premier League's still very much on track then. Jordan Henderson was talking today, Will? He was. The Liverpool captain amidst the prospect of lifting the Premier League trophy at an empty stadium is pretty strange. Jurgen Klopp's side need just 6 points from their remaining 9 games if they're to be crowned English champions for the first time in 3 decades. The England midfielder was speaking on the BBC's Football Daily podcast this afternoon, and he says they're ready to finish the campaign strongly when it resumes.
Of course, it will feel different because if you were to win any trophy, and you were to win it and be given it, and there was no fans there, it would be pretty strange, and it would of course be different. But as a player, I suppose for us, we've just got to concentrate on what's important, and that's, again, as boring as it sounds, is taking each game as it comes. If we do get back to playing games, and do our best, because it's still not over. We've still got work to do, and we still need to perform at a high level right the way until the end of the season finishes, because we want to finish as strong as we can and as best we can to make sure that it's a full season where we performed at a very high level. And in terms of things after that, whether we'll win it or whatever, in terms of trophy and the fans not being there, I think you just got to, again, deal with that when it comes. And like I say, hopefully if that it does happen, we're still in a very good position, because it means that we've won the Premier League. So we'll all be very happy, I'm sure. But then we can just look forward in the future, and whenever fans are allowed back in the stadium, I'm sure we can have some sort of celebration together.
Just taking it one game at a time, Adrian. That league's still in the balance.
Listen, Jesus, it's funny actually, because you think that most sports people get drawn out of the nonsense in times like this. Jesus, just say something that we believe is actually true. And I don't know that Jordan Henderson is a smart cookie, right? Like, he's a clever guy and seems like a very down-to-earth, normal person, actually, by all accounts. But like he's talking there about, it'd be weird to be celebrating without the fans. Like, sure, you're still going to be celebrating without the fans, really. Like, or very many of them anyway.
I know, but it is tough to do a trophy lift to an empty stadium.
They just won't do it. I mean, well, maybe they will. They will do a trophy lift, I suppose.
Yeah, so they'll finish the games, and then at the end of the season, they'll be in the middle of the pitch. And we all know Jordan Henderson's trophy lift now. He gets the trophy quite low down. He squats.
Yeah.
You know, he's a distinctive thing.
That's a good thing for a Liverpool captain to have a style of a trophy lift.
That's very impressive. So he will have to lift the trophy to an empty stand.
Yeah. Listen, sure, look at it. I think, I don't know if you saw the Walter Smith comments today, but he's talking about, like, Celtic have won. It's kind of nonsense when you think about the number of trophies they've won. But he's belittling the fact that they've won 9 in a row. They've won 8 in a row, and then this one. Like, try saying that to a Liverpool supporter. I think, I actually, when all this was unfolding around the turn of the year, I remember we'd Phil Thompson on OTBAM one morning and putting to him that most people were kind of delighted for Liverpool, like they were going to go and win this thing, and actually a lot of the neutral fans were out for that. And it was turns out a bit of a stupid theory, which he certainly poured scorn on, and most of the people I spoke to afterwards were like, what were you on about? Nobody wants to see Liverpool winning this thing, so I'm in a minority of one. I definitely love to see them go and win it, and sure, look, it'd be great if there was fans there, but there isn't going to be any asterisks beside it. They are absolute deserving winners, and I think I'd be interested to know from Liverpool fans, just in relation to what it would mean for them to be able to see the season out proper, and actually, whatever about the fans being there, at least be able to play the games out and rightfully win it. So there's definitely no asterisk beside it.
Well, I think there is, actually. And even if they do win it behind closed doors, there's an asterisk, because the integrity of the league's been damaged by not having fans at the stadium. So I still don't think Liverpool have won the league.
Go on. I'm let you know.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Hold your fire, everyone. It's just a joke. Not a very good one, I will admit. Jose Mourinho's been talking?
He has as well, Joe. He says coronavirus could put an end to crazy transfer fees. The Tottenham boss said they'll have to be sensible this summer, because he thinks the market is going to be heavily affected by the financial pandemic. The GAA's Director General, Tom Ryan, I know you're going to be talking about the GAA in a few minutes' time as well, says their advisory group are working on a roadmap now for the reopening of grounds and the return of matches. Ryan says there are some very important decisions ahead, and that safety is the overriding concern when deciding when games can resume. He added that guidelines on the reopening of facilities, which we spoke about last night, will be worked out in the coming weeks.
Very, very important that we embark upon it the right way. It's very, very important that we're cognizant all the time of the health of our members and our patrons and our spectators. That's the overriding concern with all this. And that group is going to guide us through that process, and that group is going to set out for us, to use a phrase, a roadmap, in terms of how we get back up and running when the time is right and when the environment is correct, to make sure that the GAA resumes its preeminent place in Irish sport and Irish society.
I presume the use of GAA facilities such as walking tracks and pitches has been part of those discussions?
Well, you know yourself, John, GAA clubs are part of communities everywhere all around the country, so in almost every case they're more than just football and hurling pitches. The committee rooms are used by all manner of organisations and friends of the association. Pitches are used for people for all manner of things, whether it be going for a walk or just going for a poke around or whatever. And that's important, and it's important that we get back to using our facilities for those purposes as well. But it has to be done in a controlled way, and it has to be done in a safe way. Everything has to be, the overriding thing all the time is safety. It has to be done in a safe way. And that little group is going to help us with regard to how we might tackle that and how we might embark upon that. And that very, very definitely will be part of the little roadmap that we'll map out for the association and for clubs over the course of the next few weeks.
Well, this will lead us into the conversation we're going to have after the ad break. John O'Mahony will join us. He's Fine Gael's Shannon spokesperson on sport, amongst other issues. He's obviously an All-Ireland winner as well. He was talking to John Fogarty in the Examiner today, and is very keen for pitches to open, not just walkways, but pitches to be able to go and have a poke around or have a kick of a ball. We'll also have Professor Anthony Staines with us and Professor Kingston Mills as well. We'll talk sport generally, but we'll certainly start on the GAA front because, as Tom Ryan said there, they do have the largest infrastructure of pitches around the country. It seems like walkways will open. We're not sure on when pitches will open, so that's the first thing to put to our guests. And then beyond that, the cool camps in the main, it seems, are going to continue with some exceptions in Cork and in Tyrone from July 20th. And in the midst of it all, you have people saying, well, let's just hold our horses, caution all the way. And definitely, Adrian, as well, I'm noticing increasingly there are grumblings. There is a sense of impatience amongst numerous GAA people saying, come on, let's just get a move on. Why are we waiting until July 20th at this stage? Let's move on here. Let's get going. They're not public health officials. We'll have some public health officials on after the ad break, but I think that pent-up impatience is more palpable this week than ever.
And it probably comes on the back of it. So one day we were on and we were saying there have been no deaths from coronavirus that day, and actually it does result in people getting a bit more impatient. And like you say, let's not take our lead from the people who are getting impatient. Let's take our lead from the people who actually understand this stuff. What's the crack with walkways?
Quite a number of pitches in the last number of years will have concrete walkways around the pitches, and they're just, you know, if you want to go for a walk where, for instance, you're not dodging traffic or on coming in and off footpaths around the road, there was government funding given for them, like on the assumption that these are community centres and it's a place where people can go in and walk, like you see on shows like Operation Transformation and all these kind of things. There's like a local pitch with a walkway around the pitch. Inexpensive enough, and they were put down for that reason, so people could go in and walk around the pitch effectively. That's all.
Fair enough. I don't see any issue with them being open.
No.
Open, like what would be the people just respect the rules? Like if parks are open, and they're partly government funded, I don't see why, as a public amenity, they shouldn't fling the gates open. Yeah,
I think that is due to happen soon. That seems to have been the word that they're about to announce that. But the pitches, and can you go and have a puck around or a kick around, is almost at the front of the next argument.
That's difficult, isn't it? And actually, the cool caps one was interesting, I thought, because when I saw it initially today, I thought, geez, I was a bit surprised by it, but actually it makes total sense that it's far more easy to regulate when you've got, obviously, trained coaches there and you're sort of, being able to marshal the kids and participants fairly easily. In a way that might be a little bit more difficult, like depending on the age group, of course. Yeah. But it might be more difficult, obviously. The relative uncompetitive nature of it probably makes it a bit easier than like you're trying to flog the hell out of each other at training or in a match or whatever at the senior level.
Yeah, I would suspect the GAA's fear, if they just open pitches now, is you'll drive by a pitch and you'll see a couple of hundred kids in there just going bananas, you know, and people will flock to it and impromptu matches will break out, is probably the fear. Let's take an ad break. Adrian, Will, thanks a mil. We're going to talk with John O'Mahony, Professors Anthony Staines and Kingston Mills in just a moment. If you're of the GAA world, give us a text, 53106. I can put any and all questions or tweets to Professors Staines and Mills in particular.
You know, I'm a football man. Kevin's a football man, you know. And
Joel's not. Now, sorry, I'm a football man too.
What do you wear? Are you a boxer shorts man?
Boxers, yeah.
Are you knickers man or what are you? That's one thing my wife's never had to buy me is boxer shorts or pants because I don't wear any. Simple as that. And I don't think I'm the only male out there that doesn't wear pants either. I think there's a lot of males I know